Gita calls people who like to think as munis. And every muni thinks differently. So what I'm seeing here is a set of 30 munis, thinkers. And each one has so much to speak and so much to think. It's positive to think, but it's also more important to think in the right direction. So I'm going to discuss a concept of leadership which is based on motivation. We're talking about how to motivate people, right? We're talking about how we can help so many others to be as motivated as we are. So there are 4 levels of motivation. The first level of motivation is motivation out of fear. You can motivate people to do things by creating a fear psychosis around them. A leader, a person who is heading an organization can inspire somebody who is under him to perform based on fear. If you don't do this, then you're fired. If you don't do this, then this is the penalty. If you don't do this, you will lose this money. So on and so forth. Worship of God also can be out of fear. There are so many people who go to temples because they fear unknown. What if I don't do this, then God can become angry on me. And that's the reason I go. This is the lowest level of motivation. This is the lowest level at which you can inspire somebody to do something positive, to contribute. Even for that matter, ecology. Why do you take care of ecology nicely? If you don't do it, then there will be a global warming. If you don't do it, there will be so much destruction, so on and so forth. We will suffer. So basically, the lowest level of motivating another person is out of fear. And many leaders do this. This is known as coercive type of leadership, where the leader forces another to submit. The second type of motivation is known as motivation at the level of reward. Most people follow this type of system to motivate another person. If you come here, this is what you will get. Bonuses, incentives, so on and so forth. That's another level of motivation. Again, when it comes to worshipping God also, this level of motivation does work. There are so many temples people go to stand in lines in front of, the temple for hours together sometimes. You go and interview each one of them. Ask them, why are you here? Each one has a big list in his pocket. Big list of things. I want this, I want this, I want this, I want this. If you talk about motivation to take care of ecology, at the same level, I take care of ecology nicely because this is the benefit I'll get from it, right? This is higher than fear, but this is not the highest. A third level of motivation is motivation at the level of duty, where I feel I'm duty bound to reciprocate. This is a very high level of understanding why I need to do something. If a leader can motivate followers to understand this, not always talk about rights, but also talk about responsibilities. Not always talk about what I'm going to get from the organization, but also talk about what am I supposed to contribute to the organization. So this type of motivation is a very high level of motivation. It requires a lot of contemplation. One time there was a teacher who asked children to write down the 7 wonders of the world. Different people wrote different things. Of course, the most common things were Eiffel Tower and Taj Mahal and this and that. One girl, she submitted a paper which talked about 7 wonders of the world from a different perspective. She said the 7 wonders of the world are 2 eyes, 2 ears, a mouth, a nose to breathe, like that. The teacher really started crying tears because she never thought These could be wonders. Like she was telling that we should, every day in the morning you get up, look at least 2 things you can think about which you're grateful for. Gratitude is something that really is a very important aspect of human life. When there's gratitude, you respect what you have. Unfortunately, to reach to this level, it requires a lot of contemplation and a lot of substance. Again, still, this has its limits. You know why? If you don't get something, then we feel, why should I give back? When you have something, you are grateful for. But if you don't have something, what are you grateful for? So this also has its limits. So though duty is much higher than fear, much higher than reward, but it is not the highest. So the highest way in which you can motivate another person is out of love. Love awakens only when you are able to see that person as a living hero. See that person as a person who actually can walk his talk. So basically, the easiest way to get people to cooperate is by showing them might. A better way is to offer a benefit. But the best way is to influence them through your character and vision. So what happens if you show them might? If you show might to people, you get physical presence, numbers increase. If you offer people a benefit, you gain their intelligence, ideas increase. But if you show them love, which is unconditional, what you really get is their hearts. Commitment increases. So in leadership, more important than just getting numbers, more important than just getting intelligence and ideas, is to get commitment. And that's the toughest aspect of leadership. That's the most difficult way to actually inspire people. I'll tell you a story. One time, this was during the building of the Belur Helibedu temple. I don't know if anybody is from Karnataka here. There is one very, very famous structure in Karnataka known as Belur Helibedu. This is a place where there is a beautiful temple. The most intricate carvings in the entire, history of human civilization is found in that temple structure. So during the construction phase of this temple, there was one king whose name was Krishnadeva, a very famous king and a very deep person. So he went around in the construction site inspecting how people are doing their work, and he went disguised. And he went to one man and he asked him that, what are you doing here? As soon as he was asked this question, this man dropped his tools, started really out of anger and frustration telling, you can't see what I'm doing here? I am wasting my time breaking stones. So king realized, this person is... And then he went to the next person, he asked him, what are you doing? This man, he said, I'm doing my duty. The king has employed me, given me so much, I'm just, reciprocating for what he has given. He went to a third person. This person was actually doing the most important part. He was carving the deity of the altar. The king asked him, what are you doing? This man also dropped his tools. But he started crying, tears in his eyes. And he was telling, what am I doing? I'm doing nothing. I'm just holding the hammer and chisel, and I'm seeing the Lord manifest from within the stone. So 3 different people, 3 different motivations, 3 different mindsets, 3 different thought processes. Why do different people get motivated in different ways? One of the reasons is because it has a lot to do with the way they are trained, with the way they see their leader behave, the way they see their leader act. If they see the person who is leading them act in a very, very coercive way, that's the kind of people they become. Arrogant, hard-hearted, tough people who really want to exploit. If they see their leader acting out of a reward mentality, I do this, and then you have to give me this. they acquire that quality. And if they see the leader acting out of duty, very, very honest, very, very sincere, duty bound, they also acquire the same mindset. But if they see their leader having a vision for which he is ready to give his life for, if they see the leader acting in the mood of being a servant, which is what is called as servant leadership. So, here the mindset is that I am ready to do anything to be able to serve the people I love, the people I lead. And such a leader leads from the front. It's not that he is hiding behind a chair or a desk and he's sitting in an AC cabin. He is there right in the front. Therefore, you remember the first slide that I started with? The concept of what is the difference between a boss and a leader. The boss is a person who sits on a chariot and drives the horses ahead. And leader is a person who is right in the front pulling the cart along with the others. In Ayodhya, there was one incident which really brings out this quality very beautifully. One time there was a drought. For 11 long years, there was no water. There are two types of irrigation systems. One is known as Nadi Matraka system of irrigation, and another is known as Daiva Matraka system of irrigation. Nadi Matraka means where you depend on rains for your crop to grow. Absolutely no other way. There's a lot of dependence on rains. The second type of irrigation is known as Nadi Matraka, which is a system of harvesting water, where the government actually makes elaborate arrangements for storing water for long durations of time. Ayodhya followed the Nadi Matraka system of irrigation. For 11 long years, the citizens did not even feel that there was a drought, did not even feel that there was no rains. Can you imagine what kind of a system Dasharath created? So foresight is the hallmark of a leader. He creates systems out of vision. So the leader's quality is not just to make such systems, but to ensure that these systems work. What is the point in just making a system if the system doesn't work? So here, Dasharath made a system which was absolutely perfect. 11 long years, no water, nobody realized that there was a drought. On the 11th year, when Dasharath realized that in spite of his system, things are not going to work more, he found out what is the cause of the problem. And he realized that the cause of the problem is because one of the planets were looking at Ayodhya in a certain way. Dasharath actually took his chariot and went to the planet, Swamy. One of the word Dasharath means the one whose chariot goes in 10 directions. So Dasharath actually went to the planet of Shani and challenged Shani to turn his gaze. Of course, it's a long story, cut it short. But somehow or the other, he managed to change the gaze of the planet. The point I'm trying to tell is that Dasharath created a flawless system. But when he saw that the system is not working, he was ready to invest energy and time to make a change at the cost of his life. This kind of leadership is known as servant leadership, where the leader doesn't just command, but rather he functions in such a way that he demands respect. It's not that a leader wants to be respected, but people want to respect him. It's not that the leader feels insecure if the people don't respect him, but rather people feel insecure when they don't respect their leader. So such a leadership is driven with the motive of only one thing: how to make people who I am leading happy. If that's the goal, if that's the core value that a person is carrying, then there is nobody on earth who can resist such leadership. Therefore, I would like to show you all a video about how when somebody likes to serve selflessly, you go a little out of your way. And in fact, selflessness has its own rewards. Selfishness definitely has its own rewards, but selflessness also has a set of its own rewards which are not tangible. In this world, where people are always running after things, just like all of us discussed some time back. We are looking for satisfaction in temporary things. We're looking for satisfaction in quick things. But when we look for satisfaction in quick and temporary things, the satisfaction is also quick and temporary only. Therefore, when we look for satisfaction in things that are much deeper and much long lasting, it's a lasting satisfaction. Therefore, when we're discussing about this concept of happiness, what really is happiness? I'll tell you a story. This was during my engineering days. One time, we were in a canteen eating samosas, and somebody was commenting about how this samosa is the best samosa we have ever eaten in our life, and people just loved it. And suddenly one boy came running and he said, "Results are declared." Everybody stopped eating. I asked them, "What happened to my results?" They said, "You have passed, you have got distinction." So I was happy, I continued eating. There was another boy who was sitting next to me, my close friend. He asked, "What about my results?" They told him, 4 wickets down. He failed in 4 subjects. This boy couldn't eat the samosa. Same samosa, same taste, but now the samosa tasted stale. Tell me one thing, where does happiness really lie? If happiness was in the taste of the samosa, that samosa exactly tasted the same 1 minute later. But is really happiness in things and stuff of this world? I would say happiness is a state of the mind. This video will show you exactly what I'm talking about. It will show you how doing little things for people, if your inner level of satisfactions are very high, then you will really realize what really happiness is. Watch carefully. Concept of selflessness has its own joys. The question now is, why are each one of us differently motivated? Human beings, however great or not so great they may be, there is certain levels of motivation that function within us. The question is, what is the difference? Why are different people differently motivated? The first thing is that we have to remember that there are deep-rooted conditionings within us which really determine how we really see the world, how we really see ourselves, and what we see first of all. These conditionings are sometimes blocks. Just like when they catch elephants, what they do is they train an elephant from its childhood. And how they do it is they trap a small elephant, a baby elephant, and they tie it up with chains, huge, thick chains, and they tie it up with a strong pole. The elephant is, the first day when it is caught, it's trapped and it's struggling so hard to break the chains, break away and run free. But how much ever it tries, it just cannot escape. After a couple of days, the elephant realizes that I have nowhere to go. And he submits himself. And then, slowly, as the elephant grows up, the chain is always tied. But the size of the chain becomes smaller. And the size of the pole becomes smaller. The elephant becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. But the chain remains smaller and smaller and smaller. Finally, there's just a small, tiny bit of a rope tied to a small, tiny pole. And the elephant, such a huge elephant with the strength to uproot a tree, just stands helplessly as if it can't do anything. Because it had tried once and had given up. And never ever thought about trying again. These are what are called as conditionings. Each one of us have conditionings within our heart which actually determine how we think, how we act, what we really think about ourselves. And most of the times, we don't want to come out of those conditionings. And many times, we don't know how to come out of those conditionings. And many times, we don't know who's going to help us come out of those conditionings. That's where inspiration comes in. That's where the desire to hear, the desire to look, the desire to see upon somebody who can act as a force of inspiration to pull us out of those conditionings is a need. And therefore, I always tell people that whatever you do in your life, you have to understand one thing. We do not see the world as it is, but as we are. What we see in the world is not what actually the reality is. In fact, we see the world according to the lenses that we wear. So there are 3 principles which actually govern how we see the world, which govern what way in which we are motivated to function in this world. The first principle is that who you are determines what you see. The analysis of others, your analysis of others, are actually expressions of your own needs and values. Your own needs and values, what you carry, is how you analyze others with. I'll tell you a story from the Mahabharata. Dronacharya, who was the teacher of the Pandavas and the Kauravas, one time asked Duryodhana to go out into the kingdom, and he said, find one man who is better than you. This man went out, traveled across the length and breadth of the kingdom, came back and he said, my dear sir, I couldn't find even one person better than me. Every person I saw, there were so many bad qualities in that person. And when I compared that person to myself, I couldn't find one good quality which I have, and he doesn't seem to be having any of those. Dronacharya next sent Yudhishthir out, and he told him, go out in the kingdom and find at least one person who is worse than you. He went out, traveled the length and breadth of the kingdom, came back, and he said the same thing. He said, I couldn't find even one person who is worse than me. Every person I saw at least had one better quality than me. And he had a list of every person he met and every good quality that he had, which he didn't have. So, the point is, who you are determines what you see. Somebody who likes to dress nicely, you look at the other person, the first thing you notice is how he or she is dressed. Somebody who likes hairstyle, the first thing you notice in the other person is what is his or her hairstyle. Somebody who is intelligent, when you look at another person, the first thing you see is what is the level of intelligence, right? Who you are determines what you see. The second thing is, who you are determines how you see others. One time there was a traveler. He reached a new city, a new village, and at the entrance of the village, he found an old man. And he asked the old man, "How is this village?" The man said, "How was the village from which you came?" He said, "The village I came from, useless, absolutely good for nothing people. Everyone is so lazy and so stupid. Nobody wants to cooperate, nobody wants to listen, everybody has his own ideas." The old man said, "This village is exactly like that." So he went inside, dejected. Another man came, same old man, and he asked him the same question. "How is this village?" The old man asked him, "How was the village you came from?" He said, "The village I came from, it was such an amazing place. I never wanted to leave it, but somehow I had to come. People over there were so kind-hearted, so genuine, so loving, so caring." The old man said, "This village is exactly like that. Same village, same people, but why is this man talking about two different mindsets in the same village?" Because who you are determines how you see others. The way you see others are actually reflections of your own values, reflections of your own perceptions of yourself. If you are trustworthy, you see everyone around you as trustworthy. If you are critical, you see everybody around you as critical. And if you are caring, you see everybody around you as caring. Who you are determines how you see life. Who you are determines what you see. Who you are determines how you see others. And who you are determines how you see life. There was a small boy who wanted to play a trick on his grandfather. His grandfather was lying down on an easy chair and snoozing. And his grandson, he went to the grandfather and took a bit of cheese, old, smelly cheese, and he rubbed it on his mustache. And he hid. The grandfather got up after some time and he started smelling. He said, "This room is smelling so badly." He started looking around, couldn't find anything. He went to the next room. He said, "This room also smelling so badly." He went to the next room. He said, "This whole house is smelling so badly." Then he went outside the house. He said, "This whole world is smelling bad." Where was the bad smell? Under his nose. So many times, our own personal frames of attitudes, our own personal frames of references is how we see life. When we see life as being hard, when we see life as being, when we see people around us who are absolutely not interested in contributing at all, not interested in doing anything at all, remember, it's our own framework. We are seeing everybody with reference to our own mindsets, our own value systems, and our own attitudes. Therefore, there are two types of behaviors in life. This is essentially what we can summarize as what we discussed all day long today. There is a behavior called as proactive behavior, and there's another type of behavior known as reactive behavior. Proactive behavior essentially means that the way you perceive your life, the way you see life, is depending on your own actions. So you analyze your actions based on your own value systems. And you live a life in such a way that before something happens, you act. Reactive behavior is when you act after something happens. Proactive behavior is when you prepare yourself for something that is going to happen soon. Many times in life, the reason we are not able to have good relationships, the reason we are not able to be effective at dealing with our conditionings, which we spoke about, the reason we are not able to function in the right way is because we have never been proactive. We have always been reactive. That means only when a problem comes, we decide, "Arey, samasya aa gaya hai, abhi kuch karna hai." Most of the times, how much time have we spent in preparing ourselves for relationships? We prepare ourselves for careers, right? Study 25 years, 30 years sometimes, prepare for a career. We prepare so much for planning our finances. We prepare so much for building a home. We prepare so much for everything we do in our lives. How much do we prepare to develop our attitudes? How much do we prepare to develop our relationships? Hardly. Therefore, ability to have proactive behavior is very difficult for us. Let me tell you a real life incident which happens regularly. This talks about preparation of your attitudes and personalities. I don't know how many of you all know this. The eagle, which is a bird we see soaring in the sky, has a very peculiar type of habit and a lifestyle. When an eagle gets older, it reaches a time when its body becomes unsupportive to its flight. The feathers become rigid, tough. The beak becomes hardened and becomes old, and then it becomes useless for it to be able to use is for anything practical. Not able to open its mouth practically. Its legs become numb practically as it becomes older. So the eagle is not able to fly at all. Not able to catch its own prey at all. As a result, the eagle has two options. One is an easy option, and the second is a tough option. The easy option is it can sit somewhere and wait for death to come, which will come very soon. That's the easy option. You might say, how is it easy? What I'm going to tell you is the second option is much tougher than this. The second option is that the eagle has to go to a place which is completely secluded and safe, and one by one pluck out its feathers from its body. Pull out one by one every feather from the body. And then with its own beak, it has to bite its own leg, tear away the leg from its own body. And after it has done that, it has to bang its own beak on the ground, on a stone, and break it. And then wait. New feathers grow, new legs grow, new beak grows. And then the eagle has another 80 years to live, flying high in the sky. Preparation is a very important part of achieving success, achieving glory, contributing to society. Most people, when they talk about their own attitudes, we want to behave without training. We want to behave the way we feel like doing it, the way we have been trained up to do it, and the way we have been conditioned to do it. And therefore, most people have what we call as a reactive behavior. Reactive behavior means you allow other people to decide your response. I'll end with a story. One time there was a hotel in which some ladies had gone to eat a dinner. And just when they were eating, a cockroach came and sat on one of them. This lady just jumped. She shrieked. She panicked. The cockroach jumped and fell on another one. And she got up. She shrieked. She jumped and she panicked. And then the cockroach kept traveling from here to there. And then finally the waiter came to rescue. And as soon as the waiter came, the cockroach jumped on him. He paused, stopped where he was, looked at the movement of the cockroach, caught it, threw it out of the window. Now, just analyze. Is the cockroach responsible for the behavior of the people? If the cockroach was, then the waiter should have also behaved exactly in the same way. Why he didn't? This is the difference between being proactive and being reactive. When we succumb to our impulses, then we tend to become reactive. But when we analyze before we speak, when we analyze before we act, when we analyze before we behave, then we become proactive. Proactive behavior is painful because it requires preparation, it requires disciplining, it requires a lot of insight. Reactive behavior is very easy because it's impulsive, it's natural, and it's fast, and it's not painful at all. But proactive behavior has its advantages from a long-term perspective, and reactive behavior has its disadvantages from a short-term perspective also. So when a leader behaves in the right way, understanding what is the expectations from him, then what happens is that he can create long-term impact, and that is when he can motivate people to grow from the level of fear to the level of reward, to the level of duty, and then finally to the level of love, because he is not telling them, he is showing them how to behave. Thank you.